Jason.
Nick and the Raw Dog in the morning, 106.5 FM.
Already
We're
a
getting
different
crazy
start.
here on Nick Viall's podcast.
How are you, Jason?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm great, man. It's good to be with you.
Everything good?
It's great.
Listen, I want to start off right now and just say, as the two sexiest men in the world, you and I think we should squash the beef and just be friends.
Just be friends?
Yeah,
Okay.
I really think so,
The plight of two hot men.
Yeah, and if you would be so kind, I'd love to bounce a quarter off your abs right now, if that's okay.
Because you got your start like just being a comedian.
Yeah,
I say just being a comedian. And then how did you slide into this more content creating?
Well, I was
world?
I was like completely broke, and I was doing stand up at the Improv, and David Dobrik was in the audience, and that was it. And it was again, like getting lucky breaks in life. It's like I'd gone like 20 years with no lucky breaks, and then I walked off stage, and he walked up to me, and he was like, "Oh, hey, can you?" He had a hat on, and he had his camera, and he's a kid, He's like, I think he was like 20. And he was like, "Oh, hey, can you come do that bit tomorrow at my house?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh, yeah, of course." I knew who he was, and so I went and did it. And I was like, "I'll never," because when you do like Instagram video and Vine or TikTok or whatever, like you maybe see somebody once and then you never see them again.
Sure,
they have one idea and that's it.
Yeah.
And then and then I just really got along with him. We hung out for the next 5 years. I'm still really good friends with him. We had a podcast for a while that was really good, really fun, called Views. And he's the best. He's like truly, he saved my life, that kid. Yeah.
Well, Kanika, this is my friend Jason.
Hi,
and
Kanika.
we have Allie and Amanda in the room as well.
Hi.
And we're excited to talk to you. I've found you on TikTok. You've been showing up on my For You page. I'm sure you've gotten this a lot, so many questions. You start most of your videos with, "I'm a diagnosed sociopath." Am I getting that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
You are.
First of all, what does that mean? Because I feel like I guess even for me, there's a lot of ignorance around what that means. I think we start like, we only hear these words in like just documentaries and movies, and we make a lot of, I guess I think there's just a lot of opinions and thoughts on the topic, but not a lot of information. So I'm really just kind of fascinated by all this. And how did you first find out that you were diagnosed? And then what does it even mean, just to start with?
So to start with, sociopathy actually is not a medical term.
Okay.
I use it as a buzzword because nobody knows what the actual medical term means.
Okay.
The medical term itself is antisocial personality disorder, and it is characterized by a lack of remorse, a lack of guilt, and a lack of empathy.
Are you truly incapable of feeling empathy for people, or do you have to fake it? And like, I guess, what does it mean to not have any empathy whatsoever? Because you seem very self-aware, and you seem like you totally understand what empathy is. And I think like on some of your videos, you seem to reference like your ability to fake it if you need to. So are you able to explain what it means, the difference between like understanding it? And because like for me, like when I've learned about empathy, it's like, hey, you should like give a shit about other people than yourself. And then like be in the moment, be like, hey man, like how was your day? I'm really sorry you had to deal with that. So like what's the difference between just like knowing that you should do it and like ask people questions and not be kind of self-absorbed, which I think we all have become in our society, versus your like lack of ability to feel it? Like how do you make that distinction?
So what people seem to get confused is making empathy an inherently positive thing. Empathy is simply being able to feel what somebody else is feeling. That's not a positive or a negative thing. That's a very neutral fact. Now, what people confuse it with is being kind and caring and showing compassion. Now, these are things I am capable of. In terms of empathy itself, yes, I do feel cognitive empathy. That's why I can understand what people are going through. I can understand why you feel shit. I can understand why someone is sad when their mother dies. I mean, I'm not that far, gone, but I don't have affective empathy. So I will never feel what you feel, even if I understand it to the best of my knowledge. If I understand it, I still will not feel it unless I have absolutely gone through the same thing myself.
Are there any examples of I guess, hypocrisy or things that or behaviors or practices that people might like call out within you or anyone with ASPD as wrong that you see existing in society all the time without being like put under that same kind of scrutiny?
Absolutely. I mean, we see, well, I think this is more specific to ASPD and women, because women are very unlikely to be diagnosed with ASPD. Usually they get diagnosed with BPD or histrionic personality disorder. And so there's a standard of where we need to be. Until we are completely submissive, we are seen as a problem to treat. And we have this double standard of having to meet this criteria that is such bullshit. And it makes no sense. And the idea that we are liars and that we are bad because we don't have empathy and we are horrible because we don't feel guilt is also ridiculous to me, because a lot of empaths have very selective empathy.